Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we are talking to Rebecca Crozier.
Hi. I personally believe that in the United States, and honestly around the world, but specifically in the United States, we have a long ways to go in how we talk about and how we approach women's health.
Rebecca Crozier is a journalist for a nonprofit organization.
It was not until 1986 that the National Institute of Health in the U.S. Declared that medical researchers should include the female body in medical studies. So up until then, all healthcare given to women was based on the male body.
Today, we are hearing from Rebecca, her personal experience with women's health care in America.
The female body was not studied. And because of that, I think we are still so behind in how we talk about women's health, how we talk about the female body, how we approach that subject in schools, how we educate our children about it, and how we just how doctors should listen to women when they talk about their bodies.
Rebecca Crozier had a personal experience with doctors who refused to listen to her. Because of this, she educated herself.
I just think that we have a long ways to go. And because that was only 38 years ago, 1986 was only 38 years ago, that the NIH said, hey, it is lawful and right, and actually we demand that the female body be included in these studies. I personally have had an experience where I was not listened to about my body. I had just been overseas in a developing country, and mere days after I got back, I got really, really sick. I had really, really awful stomach pain. I had nausea. I had a really high fever. I was throwing up. My bowel movements were all messed up, and I mostly was just in so much stomach pain, and I did not know what was going on. And I went to the doctor, and after going to the doctor, he sent me to the emergency room. At first they thought I had appendicitis, and I think that was ruled out pretty quickly. But the emergency room doctor looked at me and was like, "Oh, you have an ovarian cyst." And I was like, "No, I do not have an ovarian cyst." One, because I know what an ovarian cyst feels like. I've had one before. And two, because this is not normal, and because I had just been out of the country, in a developing country where it was very likely that I had eaten something that wasn't good for me, or I had drank or consumed in some way unclean, unsafe water, which is a very common problem in developing countries. And yet I was told, no, you probably have an ovarian cyst. So sorry, because you're a woman, like it has to do with your ovaries if you're having stomach pain. And they told me to do an ultrasound. I said no because I knew it was an ovarian cyst and I wasn't going to pay to have an ultrasound done. And later my test results came back. I had 2 different types of E. coli. I had a UTI, and I had another kind of disease that you get from eating raw chicken, which makes perfect sense. Being in a developing country, I had eaten food that was not good for me, and that was why I was sick. It was not because I had an ovarian cyst. So that's just my very short story of just one way that I did not feel like I was heard in the emergency room by the emergency room doctor. And I understand that's a situation that's very high pressure, and there's a lot of people coming in, coming out. Maybe they just wanted me out of there because I wasn't actually in any immediate danger, and my pain had started to subside at that point. But I knew, according to my own menstrual cycle and my own experiences, I knew that I did not have an ovarian cyst. And I just think it's so important to listen to women because we ultimately like know what's best for our bodies more than any doctor, whether that doctor is a male or a female, more than anyone else in our life. We know our bodies the best, and I think that that should be taken in consideration, whether you're male or female, by any doctor in any instance. The patient should be heard, the patient should be listened to. And I think that for so long, women were not heard and women were not listened to. They were just sent off to mental institutions if they had any kind of emotional distress because they were deemed crazy. Or awful procedures were done on them just because they were women and because male doctors didn't understand the female body. And for so long, women were treated by women. Women were midwives, and women gave birth at home, and the people that helped them weren't male doctors, they were women. And then when male doctors started to fill those places and women started to give birth in hospitals instead of at home, I think that's when everything went awry. So that's my personal experience, not feeling seen or feeling heard by a doctor, and that is not everyone's experience. And I don't want to generalize that. I don't want to stereotype doctors or hospitals or healthcare workers, but I know that a lot of women share similar experiences and have similar thoughts on women's healthcare in America.
Thank you, Rebecca, for taking the time to sit down and chat with us.